If you could just take from some unsolicited advice from me, don't be bragging about being the first. Like, no one cares about the first, really. People only want the best. Give
Like,
the people what they want.
help me.
Like, listen for people who say it can't be done, because there's an opportunity there.
So
Yeah.
tell me a bit about the product. Like, what, like, help me describe it a little bit, because here, just looking at the website and watching the videos, so I'm not understanding like what the product is and how did you
Also,
guys come
I'm
up
super
with it?
excited. The story that is exactly how a lot of people say you just came up with the story, but I'm telling you, this is exactly how it happened. Okay, we're talking about like we're gonna mix in a little serendipity. We're gonna talk about like turning negatives into positives. We're gonna talk about best friends working together. But
Oh,
it taking
bring it on.
it didn't happen overnight, right?
Yeah.
So my best friend in Santa Monica, I moved to Santa Monica where I'm at here at the beach in 2011. And in 20 end of 2012, early 2013, I started becoming really great friends with Giuliano. He's a restaurateur, and because I did 10 years of food service, I worked at Claim Jumper, Cheesecake Factory, a bunch of fine dining, think like resort stuff, like Doubletree Resorts and stuff like that, Hilton. um, I knew that if you own a restaurant, you're in there before the sun comes up, and you're there way after the sun goes down. And that's where you
Yeah.
spend your entire life. Like everything that you do throughout your entire day is meant to get the most out of that restaurant experience. I don't know if you ever worked in one before,
I
or
have.
yeah, so you understand, especially
Yeah.
when it's your butt on the line and your name on the door. Like, margins are thin, costs are running high. And if you're not making money off of every single item on your menu, you cut that item from the menu, you know.
Mm,
Anyway, Giuliano showed me through his actions that this guy was a workhorse, and I knew I was a workhorse too, but we needed to let off some steam. And so we got to be friends by being drinking buddies, smoking buddy. We would just go out and have a night on the town, like try and, pick up girls and, just have a fun time. Like, that's what my idea in my 20s was.
right.
I think I was 29 or something at the time when we became buddies, and that would make him 22, 23 or something like that. And anyways,
Like every young man
yeah,
wants to go out and party, when they're young,
right.
in their early 20s.
Exactly. And so
And this was
at
here
one
in LA, right?
this is here in this is right in Santa Monica, right? And so it's a great place to be single. It's hard to get into a relationship, but it's a great place to be single, let me tell you. And so he approached me one day and he was like, listen, I'm having a hard time selling my desserts because the honey that I serve is getting rejected by the vegans at my raw vegan restaurant. They didn't
Mm,
call themselves a vegan restaurant, but they were. They called themselves a vegan restaurant. It's called Planet Raw because every single thing wasn't cooked. It was all raw veggies except for the
mm,
desserts, because they thought honey was like the most pure sweetener. They didn't want to give people like the processed, sugary stuff, or like the alcohol sugar, the whole, they wanted to be pure. And so they attracted lots of like A-list celebrities, a lot of vegan, mostly vegans. And, like I mentioned before, if you're not selling, then oh my gosh, something's wrong. We have to maximize every check. Every table has to get the most out of, what we have to offer. And so there was a gaping hole that wasn't getting filled with his desserts. And so he was looking for something. And I remember being in a Florida family reunion one day, and I've been a junkie when it comes to like looking for changes in regulation, because my second business never got off the ground because the regulations were going in the wrong way from the get-go. I had a great product. I owned it. I learned from my first business. But the problem was that, like if the tide is going against you in the beginning, then you don't really, stand a prayer of success. And so I started looking at like what could give me the first mover advantage. I was kind of early in my entrepreneurial career still back then, and I thought that being first meant best, but really best means best. So when people talk about first all the time, I'm like, listen, if you could just take from some unsolicited advice from me, don't be bragging about being the first. Like no one cares about the first, really. People only want the best. People actually put their hands up and keep you at a distance if you brag about being the first, because that means it's not tested. Like you're the only one to look at, and it hasn't been accepted by the greater population, so it's risky for them to jump in the same boat as you. But if you call yourself the best, then you actually can point to reasons why people should take something on that has already been adopted. And so I was looking, at the time I was trying to get this first mover advantage, and I learned about this berry just gotten approved for human consumption in 2012, which was the problem I had with my second business, and that never existed really. And it was GRAS certified. GRAS means generally accepted as safe in the food world. And so I called my best friend 3,000 miles away in Santa Monica. I'm like, Giuliano, I just found out about this berry that's meant for human consumption, dude. I think it would be great for your restaurant. He was like, check your voicemail. I just left you a voice message saying that I ordered this berry and it'll be here by the time you fly in.
Oh
And
wow.
and I'm telling you, on the same day, 3,000 miles apart, he was on an interesting facts app that he would just go home and hit the bed and just like scroll until he passed out about interesting facts. He's one of those kind of weirdos, and I love it. He found the berry the same day I did, and so
Wow.
I flew in, and he had the berry ready for me. I was like the biggest skeptic. Like, I know what it feels like to think that if this works on anybody, it won't work on me, type of thing. So I was like, I don't even want to do the hype, the magic trick, the before and the after. Let's get cut to the chase. Give me the after. I'm gonna have this berry, and then I'm gonna have what you give me, and we'll see if it makes it sweet. And
All right.
I'll be darned. Okay. This thing, talk about a trip, like a psychedelic experience. This was a flavored trip. This
Oh
was
wow.
mind blowing. The green juice that he had was over 20% dandelion. I don't know if you know about dandelion. It's one of the most bitter things you could have that's a leafy green. It's
Yeah, of
gross.
course.
Super, super healthy. All the green
Right.
juices out there, if they have dandelion in them, it's no more than 2%, just because the taste is so bitter. But if you've got 20%, then like you're doing something with the micronutrients that your body can benefit from, right? This thing with 30% lemon. Lemon is so sour. It's this, like it's a if you love sweets like me, sour's not your thing, you
Mm,
know and for most people, sour represents 5% of like what the population in America prefers bitters for. When you talk about fruit, sweets are 55, savory's 35. And so when it's like a good 90% if you like savory and sweet together, and that's what I like. But Giuliano is the opposite. He loves bitter and sour. So he doesn't even use the berry ever. He never uses the berry because he likes the bitter and he likes the sour. It always reminds me that the product's not for everybody. And that's a great thing to have too, because kind of as a founder, you can fall for the trap like you're the end all be all for everybody. And you got to remember, you're not meant for everybody. You
right.
know what I
Right.
mean? You're meant to target who you can help the most. And
Hmm.
that's another takeaway that I think a lot of young founders need to hear, right? Like, you can get high in your own supply, but don't drink the Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? Just
Right.
remember who it's for. And we created this company for me because, man, I needed this green juice. I was 260 pounds, size 50 plus waist. I was considered what you'd call pre-diabetic. I'd
Mm,
given up hope. And the thing was that this juice that was 20% dandelion, 30% lemon, the rest was 25% cucumber and 25% celery. So it was like, something very not sweet, but on this berry, right? Kind of like acid for your tongue on this flavor trip. It tasted like a green Jolly Rancher candy.
wow. Wow. That's amazing.
And
So
so
what is this berry? What
So
is
it's
it?
called a Ledidi berry, Ledidi. I pay homage to the people who named it in West Africa, Ghana. That's what they called it.
Mm,
Here in America, you don't. you don't call it liddy berry, you call it by its slang term miracle berry. But
Mm.
I'm 24, at this point in my life right now, I'm 24 years into sales. At the very beginning, I learned you got to over deliver. You can't over promise. You got to over deliver. So why are you going to set it up calling it a miracle? Yeah, how are you going to deliver on a miracle? You know what I mean? But I tell you, after all the years of selling phones that I did, 10, 11 years, I recognized that after the iPhone came out, you were either in the camp of iPhone or Android, but you were not in both. It was either or. And I've never had a product bat 1,000 like this, where people who have never heard of it before, never tried it, much less, blah, 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 they 1000% of the time get mind blown.
Mm.
1000%. And so as I was sharing my experience with my best friends, my co-founder, my co-workers, my bosses, my customers at the store, everybody that I came like in contact, strangers, I would give them a berry. And because they would ask me what I was doing to keep the weight off, they saw my transformation happen. And I said, you're not going to believe this, but it's because I'm not torturing my taste buds, and it makes healthy things taste like they're not healthy. It makes healthy things taste like they are candy. And
Wow.
and so they all asked me, why isn't this a thing? And I said, well, it's because it's not cheap. It's expensive. Every berry that I had was between $5 and $10, because it's so darn perishable. When you
Mm.
pick this thing off a bush, it takes about 2 hours for it to lose its flavor changing effect. Like, you put it on a countertop, and then it just becomes a really expensive, good tasting berry, but it loses that flavor changing thing. And so you have to keep it refrigerated or frozen, and it takes 2 days for it to go bad in the refrigeration, and then less than 2 weeks in the freezer. So I was keeping it all in the freezer, and sharing these frozen berries with people. The problem, of course, is that you're paying for overnight shipping. That's more expensive than ground. You're paying for the dry ice. I don't know if you ever understood how much dry ice is, but the customer always pays for dry ice. You're paying for the extra weight of it having to have the dry ice in that overnight shipping. So when you take all that into account, it's between $5 and $10 a berry, and that's cost prohibitive for most people. But for me, it was worth it because it was working. And
Mm.
every so often, I would ask Giuliano, "Hey, what do you think about us doing this as a team? Would you go into business with me?" And he's like, "Dude, we don't have a prayer. We can't. It's impossible for us to compete, because if we're in the refrigeration frozen space, that's so competitive that we can't pay that premium, because we're going up against really minimal shelf space. And plus it just goes bad so darn fast. Within 2 days or 2 weeks, you know, if you don't sell through, then you're going to get discontinued. And so we
Mm.
don't, he's like, no, 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 no. I saw a movie that got me inspired to do this whole weight journey that I did. It was called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. I love true stories. I love, documentaries. And this at the time was on Netflix, and now it's on Prime.
Yeah,
But
I've seen it.
okay, so it's really heartfelt. It's really touching, because he
Definitely.
he he meets the starring co-star is a trucker, right? And you remember that he lost like 300 something pounds, got his life on track. I mean, literally, he's running the track.
Hmm.
He got the jersey on. He met the love of his life. He got a great job. He started like really helping people out and feeling fulfilled. And then they came out 3 years later in like 2015 with the sequel. And the
Mm.
sequel was him putting all the weight back on. Because why? He got a divorce. He lost the love of his life. That crushed him. He lost his amazing job where he was helping people. He went back to being a trucker, ate all that garbage food, excuse me, but all the stuff that's not healthy for you. And um and and that's what being an emotional eater is about, man. I'm telling you, I could have relate to that.
Mm.
I yo-yoed before. So I saw the sequel in 2015, and it literally, like, as an emotional person, I'm not afraid to admit, like, I was tearing up, dude. I had the lump in my throat, and I was thinking to myself, the reason I hadn't done that before is every day I'm looking forward to my whatever, my salad that became my entree, my green juice, which was, like I said, a candy drink, like the apple cider vinegar. I would sneak into all like that unsweetened tea that would make it like taste super sweet, that's what I would do, and the weight stayed off. And so I'm thinking to myself, if I'm hoarding this to myself, all this info, should I care if Mondelez, if Nestle, if Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whatever, if they don't do something with this, then I've got to do something with it. It's my calling.
Mm,
Everybody's telling me I should make it a thing. Everyone tells me that I should go on Shark Tank with this thing. Like,
mm,
they're calling Shark Tank out. I'm a huge fan of Shark Tank, and they're telling me that I should be on Shark Tank. This is like back in 2013, 14, 15. And so I take a look at Juliana one day. We're out, and I'm like, listen, man, you can trust me. I will put in the effort that you put in, which is to say that we will go 100%, 1000% in together, because he also has that work ethic, right? But we could stop smoking, we can stop drinking, we could take responsibility, but I'm not going to accept no this time. It's not like you're going to have to fight me. And it's because of that sequel. And so he's like, if we're going to do the business, we're going to have to figure out how to preserve the berry then. And we went through all the type of dehydration methods that you could do, because they do that a lot in the raw vegan world. We tried a bunch of different types of ways to preserve it, and landed on this method of freeze drying. And that's when I knew we had a
mm,
product, because we had a 700 plus day shelf life. In reality, it's non-perishable. It lasts 25 years, but we give it a best buy date nonetheless. And we moved our commercial kitchen, which is another crazy story about how we were gifted a commercial kitchen just to put the freeze dryer in there and experiment with the process. And then we moved the freeze dryer to the farm, where we had our farmer. He'd been selling me the berry for 3 years. He would never keep my credit card on file, because he's a farmer. He didn't understand, like, you have to make it easy for people. I'd have to call him every 2 weeks and put in an order. Hey, how's it going? He'd be, how you doing? It's like that kind of a thing. And so I'm
wow.
giving my credit card over the phone every 2 weeks for 3 years. So I just asked him, one day, am I stepping on your toes? Can I? And he was like, just remember, it can't be done. Remember, I told you it's going to be a waste of time and money. Tried it for 3 decades, over 30 years. You can't preserve the berry. And I was like, bet, like, listen for people who say it can't be done, because there's an opportunity there. That's like a
Mm,
third takeaway. And so, yeah, we made it even fresher, preserved it at peak potency within 2 hours of it getting picked, with no chemicals at all. Like, when we talk about farm to table, like, we take it so literally, it's 20 feet away from where it gets picked.
oh,
And
wow.
so within 2 hours it's in there, and you rehydrate the berry with your mouth. The glycoprotein in that pulp sticks to your tongue, and it's binding itself to your taste receptors. It blocks the sourness, and it turns it sweet. And it does it at a 400,000 times sweeter than sugar. So when you've got a sweet tooth, there's nothing in the store that you can buy that makes it sweeter than this experience. That's why people recognize it so much, but it's not overpowering at the same time. People always
Wow.
say, this is exactly the sweet that I want. And
Mm.
so that's the like 5, 10, 20 minute version of how we started, and how we got the product to where it was.
Yeah, no, what a cool story. That's interesting. Let me ask you this: is the freeze drying facility that's 20 minutes away from the farm?
No, no, 20 feet.
Oh, 20 feet away from.
20 feet.
Wow. Was that by coincidence, or is this something that you looked for? Or how did that work out?
Yeah, so the part that I skipped over was being in this restaurant world. I was going door to door to all the restaurants, getting to know the chefs, giving them the demo of the berry, and that was so fun. One of them, I asked, hey, when your pizzeria shuts down at night, can I come in with this freeze dryer and experiment with preserving my berry? And he was like, listen, the thing about pizzerias is they make their money at night. We don't close at night. We stay open until as late as we possibly can. And besides, there's just no room. But I do have a spot next door. And he was like, give me a price. And I'm just telling you, I just threw it out. I was kidding. I was like, well, we could probably afford 250 a month. And he, before I even started laughing, he was like, done, just write me a check for, 750 bucks. And I was like, are you serious? And he was like, cheers for the next 3 months. And so we got the freeze dryer into this next door, this commercial kitchen that wasn't being used. We could have access to it all the time. And so we started, that's where we figured out how to preserve it, because it takes a lot of trial and error. During that time, we had to get the berries still overnighted to us from the farm. And I'm thinking, there's a process of degradation here that we don't have to go through if it wasn't 3,000 miles apart. If we had this freeze dryer next to where it was growing, it could get preserved a lot better. And that's where the brain kind of went like, why don't we just do that? And he had a food, grade FDA processing facility already, because that's where
Mm,
they were preparing and doing the berries to be shipped out, in its perishable state. So we just had to make
mm.
it non-perishable there.
I
And we
see.
started out with like 3 freeze dryers, and now we have like 30.
I see. Oh, wow. That's amazing. And that's the same farmer that you were working with.
That's the same farmer that owned this farm back in the early 1900s, his family, that when it came over from Ghana, they started growing it in this Miami farm.
Mm,
And I don't know, you remember Pangea? When in world history as a kid, they taught us all the continents were at the last time they were all together. West Africa, Ghana shared a border with Miami, Florida. So when you take a look at the climate, the soil, everything's the same.
mm,
Everything. And so they brought it over. They learned about it because this French explorer, I mean, talking Europeans learned about it from this French explorer in the 1700s, who came down to see what this tropical paradise was about. And he noticed that the locals, the natives, would take the dirt, because there's minerals in the dirt, and add it to their food, almost like a dirt patty, and benefit health wise. Like, vegans, like Giuliano always said, hey, dirt don't hurt. But I remember being a kid, adding dirt to anything made it taste like dirt. And that's what they wanted to avoid. So they would pick this berry off this bush, eat their berry, let it coat their tongue, literally have the dirt patty taste delicious, benefit from the good taste and the nutrients that they got in their body. And this explorer was just mind blown. Well, they brought it over to Florida because almost anything can grow in South Florida. And true enough, it was the perfect climate for it to grow outdoors. And eventually they learned how to cultivate it better, put it under shade, et cetera, give it the right nutrient, get it to where we could harvest it a lot more than two
mm,
times a year. So that's how it actually has this rich history of growing up with this farmer, and me having a personal relationship with this guy, because he's has a family business, just like we have a family business in my family. And me and my brother and him and his brother grew up in Florida. So it was like we just became pretty close. And he challenged me by telling me it couldn't be done. And I was like, that's exactly what I needed to hear. As long as it doesn't bother you that I'm trying to do this, because it transformed my life. I feel like it's my calling. And besides that, I'm making friends left and right, because everybody's fascinated by this thing that I'm sharing with them, and they've never heard of it. I was in my, like I said, late 20s, early 30s before I even found that this thing existed. You, as a kid, you feel like you know it all, and so you never quite leave that until you get a little bit older. They say the more you get older, the more you realize what you don't know. But this is just a perfect example of, something. Dude, what trips me out the most is that it's like this bush expected us to eat it.
mm,
Otherwise, why do you have a flavor changing berry?
mm.
That just, you know,
Right, right. That's wild.
that's why I called it nature's wild berry, right? Because you call something natural, people realize, it's not that natural, right? Call it nature, you can't deny a berry's nature, right? And then it's a wild experience, 100% wild, and it's a berry. So I just
Wow.
thought, let's call it nature's wild berry. And then we went to we actually didn't have any competition for the first few years. And then people, saw what we were doing and saw the good reviews, and they copied us, and that was like more validation. And then we, went to social media, because Gary Vaynerchuk actually, he was telling us, what you guys are doing with the restaurants going door to door, it's all fun and games, but you're not moving the needle. It's great stories, you're meeting awesome people, but this is an influencer play all day. And at 2016, Gary was a lot of he's blowing up. He was quite influential to me because he had like this mentality of, yes, like don't say no, say yes, like do get that done, no excuses. And that's part of the mantra that I also have, is like, eliminate excuses as you're creating yourself, eliminate excuses. And that's what this berry allows you to do. That,
Mm.
that you've probably heard of the
That's
locus of
Gary V, yeah?
yeah, Gary V. Yeah, we went up to his office in LA. We brought, because I was listening to him at the time, we brought a couple videographers just like he would do, and filmed the whole experience. It's still on our Amazon storefront today. But they were just, absolutely blown away. But he said this is an influencer play all day. If you want to do something, if you want to get the name recognition out there, you have to get in the hands of influencers. So begin seeding. So we stopped what we were doing the restaurant food service approach, and we ended up doing influencers and seeding. And that's what got us 300 million views during the pandemic. And then as the pandemic started winding down in mid 2022, we started preparing for Shark Tank, and we made our handshake deal in September of 2022. It went through due diligence in February, closed it in March. I believe it's the fastest due diligence in the history of the show. It was like less than 5 weeks. And then, because I really, really wanted Mark and Lori. Like, a huge fan of the show. And I did not do that entire process just to get the tip of the iceberg that you could see. I wanted the whole iceberg that you couldn't see. That's where you
Mm.
can move the needle. And so we closed that and aired in May, Cinco de Mayo of 2023. That was 14 months ago. We've re-aired like 6, 7 times. We've grown about 5.5 times since we did our deal in the tank. And everyone asked me, what are they? Is it worth it? Do they help? And I can't express to you, man. It was the best thing that we've ever done, by far. Like, they have helped us immensely. We're in contact with them once a week at least, but usually it's like, multiple times in the week. And yeah, I mean, I could just talk forever, you sing their praises. But yeah, the two sharks that I really wanted the most, and what got the sales, what I call the onslaught, was getting 4 offers in the tank. So when people, that translates across the TV, the tube, people see that the sharks won in, then they're like, if they want in, I want to try this, right? And
Right.
so that's what was, I think, when I consult for free all the
W-
entrepreneurs that want to know how to do the show the right way, that's what I go for, is like, you know
Were you guys selling online before Shark Tank?
oh, yeah, that we only have done direct to consumer e-commerce. Like, wholesale makes up less than 1 or 2% of our
Wh-
business. It's just,
when did you launch?
so yeah, I remember our first sale, like it was yesterday, on Amazon. We could not pay people to buy from us on our WooCommerce site back in 2016, 17. It just wasn't happening. March 23rd, 2017 was our very first sale on Amazon. I think that we sold like 10 or 12 that day, and I was ecstatic. I was so happy.
What
And
was
so,
what
yeah.
was the selling price? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We had, at the time, I didn't know better, but at the time my philosophy was to give away, not lose money, make money on the samples, because I've heard horror stories about sampling and losing money. And I knew that for us to be bootstrapped, I gave it 5 years to be bootstrapped. I had to prove that the product had fit. I had to prove that the founders had fit. I had to prove all of it was worthy of investment and a long term. I mean, to this day, I'm giving it 20 years. So if I'm going to commit 20 years of my life, I got to make sure that this isn't a flash in the pan type of thing, right? And so we had 2 products at the time. We had our intro pack, our individual single pack, which is 2 halves one berry sliced in half, deseeded, and that came in one pack. And then we had the 50. We had at the time it was a 60 serving jar. We call it our small jar. I wanted to get people used to seeing like a 3 ounce jar not be large. I wanted that to be the small. And so we had tails, what in e-commerce SKUs you have heroes and you have tails. And tails you don't expect to sell as much, but you have a higher price point. It's a better value for a customer. These are the products that people who religiously take it multiple times a day, those are the products that they buy. And that was where I was at. And I was trying to convert people to, instead of having it once a day, having it multiple times throughout your day, because
Mm.
you do see a benefit. If you just take it once a day, you're avoiding sugar 30 days consecutively. You feel that benefit, like it compounds, like
Yeah.
compounding interest compounds. But if you're taking it multiple times a day, then you're not just avoiding sugar once a day, you're taking it to have like juice or salad or the vinegars or all the stuff
Mm.
that's gut healthy for you. And so it compounds a lot faster. And so, yeah, the price point was $50 for the 60 pack, and we had $5 for the intro pack, what I call the single pack. And so those were our two things. You proved it that it works for $5. There was nothing cheaper at the time. And then once you proved it works, then you
Excuse
can
me.
go ahead and spend $50 on the small jar.
And because I know we're running a bit short on time, even though I'm enjoying the whole journey, and you sharing the story is incredible. But I do want to get some of those numbers for our audience, and uh, so we can get you on the main channel. I would love to clarify some of those numbers that you shared here. So it says the design, you were put here 416 per month.
That's about 5,000. A one actually we split that over two payments, but I just wanted to give the same kind of monthly idea of what people could expect if you had to divide it by 12.
So did you guys do that on year one? That's how much
Yeah,
you invested into the design?
yeah,
Oh, wow, that's amazing. And software's similar. It says 500 per month, so you spent about $6,000 over the course of the year on
exactly.
softwares.
Hmm.
And Amazon fee, the 39.99. I see that you included the PPC and all of that, but I'm guessing that will be, we can count that later. Samples. So this is for all the experiments that you were doing to
Seeding is
freeze dry it and get it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we took it out and did field marketing a lot in the
Mm.
early days. It was
Well, that was
really,
costly. It cost you 28.50 a month
oh yeah,
to do
yeah.
all of that.
Absolutely, yeah. To do
Wow.
this, that includes the shipping cost of the seeding programs that we're doing with influencers, but that also includes, you know,
And this is
take
before launching
no,
on,
this is after launching.
this is
This is
after launching on
after
Amazon.
launching, but we're not making hardly any money because we've got this WooCommerce site and we haven't hopped on Amazon until like 2017. But I'm factoring this in
Mm.
like first quarter 2017 and beyond, just to make the numbers work out for most people, like a full 12 months. So yeah, I'd say like first quarter 2017 throughout the year 2017.
Oh, wow. Okay, got it. That's about 20, over almost $30,000
Yeah,
in the course of the whole year.
yeah.
And you got a DBA or an LLC.
LLC, yep.
Cost
800 with California.
cost you $800. Barcodes. You got
We
10
started with
barcodes.
10, yeah. I
Right.
think we have 30 now. We don't use 50% of them really. We have some for case packs that we're just now getting into.
You got the bundle. You bought the 10 barcodes
Yeah.
for $300, and your first inventory run. So how much did you order on your first inventory?
Well, we had to make 10,000 intro packs,
That was the minimum order.
the minimum order. Yeah. So that was our first huge order. We started off with the intro packs. We didn't have the small jar to begin with. We only opened up the small jar after we started getting some traction with the intro packs, and we realized I would end every demo every time I'm in the field, every time I'm talking to friend, an old worker, an old boss, whatever, complete stranger, I would always end every demo with the pricing question. And that was, hey, when you go to a green juice spot and they have the immunity boost or the energy boost, or you go to the froyo spot and have all the toppings, what is that going to charge you? In a place like Santa Monica, it's 3, 4, $5. In a place like, wherever, it could be 2, 3, $4, whatever. But I'm asking them, what does it charge you? And they would give me a number, and I would say, perfect. Would you pay the same if it was a flavor changing berry? If it was a boost of flavor, but it came from exactly what you had, like this berry, and it lasted 15 to 20 minutes, or it lasted 30 to 40 minutes, would you pay the same? And they always said yes. And then I would close them, because the salesman's got to always be closing. So I would close them on, hey, what's the slam dunk price? If the serving was under $1, are you absolutely, if it was a 15 to 20 minute experience under $1, are you absolutely in? And every single time it's like absolutely, like slam dunk, like I would say. So that's why I wanted to price the small jar at under $1 a serving. And so
Mm.
that came out to be like 86 cents, I think, or something like that at the time. Now it's 83 cents for like 50 servings as their small jar approximately. But like I said, that intro pack made every serving $2.50. It was a $5 intro pack with two halves. And I wanted to bring that down. I wanted to show
Mm.
people value. And so I actually priced it what the feedback that I got from our customers. At
Wow.
retail, if at retail it's less than $1 a serving, they're in. Perfect. That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, no, you're selling it at a prime price because it's a prime product.
If you remember, it was $5 to $10 per berry when it was in its perishable state. So our mission was always to make it more affordable, more available. That's the two things in our mission statement. And you can't make any changes unless, it's widely adopted. And the only way it can be widely adopted is if it's, available on a mass scale. That's what Amazon gave us. And then, we brought that price, even to this day, the raw berries, the perishable ones, they're still like $3 or $4 a berry. Like you could still find them on Amazon, and they're still very expensive because that's how much they cost to be shipping around the country. So we wanted to give people like that raw living experience, but not have them to worry about this going bad. Like even to this
Mm.
day, an influencer will say, like I had this product sitting in my cupboard for like 2 years, 3 years, and I finally got around to ripped it open, and it worked. It was delicious, and I was like, how it was designed.
Mm.
You
I
know.
love that. Yeah, it definitely brings quality into the product versus just losing its nutrients or its most valuable part, which is that experience that you're delivering.
And I'm a
So
finance major, so I'm an economist at heart. I can't stand wasting money. I can't stand wasting food either. And so, like, for us to be able to not have this go bad, to give, let it hold its value over time, all that made, a lot of sense to me.
can you tell me the maybe if you want to go by like the first year on selling on Amazon, how did that look like each month? Especially when you said when you launched, you sold 10 on the first month, right?
I think 10 on the first day.
Oh, on the first day.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you remember what was the numbers like for the first month?
Yeah, I want to say it was like between 3,000 or 5,000. It was something like closer to 3,000. I remember we were working. It's probably 2,500 if I want to
Was that
be a little.
units or revenue?
25 in revenue in
Oh,
dollars.
that's in revenue. Got it.
Yeah.
So that's let's see, you were selling it at $50 a unit.
Yeah.
So you sold about 50 units in that
And
month.
and don't forget, like a lot of it, most of it was the $5 intro pack.
Mm.
At the time, people were buying that up mostly. So once they sold themselves on that it worked, then I would see people do the 50 pack. And then it's a great gift also. So sometimes I would see people not even get the intro pack and just gift it. Like you get to see like the gift messages on Amazon too. And so like it told me, oh, okay, this is what people are sharing this. And that's, if you have a giftable product, you're already winning, so
Oh, definitely.
yeah.
So that means you've sold over 250 units in the first month of
Yeah.
the
And it's a
five.
blend, right? It was probably 75-25, something like that.
I see. Yeah,
Since,
that makes
single
sense.
packs to 50 pack. Yeah, the small jars.
And how was it for the second month?
I mean, is very steady that first year. That gave me a lot of hope, a lot of
Oh,
encouragement.
great.
Yeah, I think that we really started doing PPC later in the year because we learned about it. Basically, there is so much you don't know and so much you have to do, especially if you want to get, um, like go through the brand registry and
And this was without PPC?
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's
Oh,
just keyword search, find, buy.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, that must have felt good, after all that work and all that effort, putting it on Amazon and just having it start selling like that.
I couldn't believe that I couldn't get my friends to buy the ding product. Like I could not get my friends to go to WooCommerce to buy. I couldn't
Yeah.
get them to buy it. But as soon as I put it on Amazon, people trusted Amazon, like people would walk into my
Well, it's
cell
harder
phone.
to get traffic to your website than Amazon, and there's already traffic on Amazon.
That's the whole people at the time, people were starting to use Amazon more than Google to search for products because it's that intent to buy. It's like, why do you want to take 2 clicks when you could take 1 click? They literally called it 1 click buying. You
Yeah,
know, people
yeah,
would walk into my store in 2015, 14, 13, and they would say, I'm going to get the phone here, but I'm going to get the accessories on Amazon.
yeah,
Drove us crazy,
yeah,
drove us freaking nuts. Like you have
yeah,
to sell the accessories if you're going to sell the phone, right? They expected that, but how do you compete with Amazon? You can't.
yeah.
And so then I was like, you know what? You can't beat them, join them. Let's put this on Amazon. And it's part of making it more available anyway. The product is meant to be in fulfillment centers that doesn't go bad. It needs ambient temperature. That's perfect.
Mm.
And so give the people what they want.
So you were selling steady for the whole year? Were you selling about the same? Like, was it roughly the same throughout the entire year,
Yeah, I mean,
2017?
obviously in fourth quarter, your numbers are going to go up. They're going to recorrect, sometime in the first quarter of the next year. Usually because this product lends itself well to like New Year's resolutions. We saw great numbers in January, but sometime in like late February, early March, your numbers dip a little bit, and then, you starts going up again, and then, you know so year two was better than year one. Year three was better than year two. That type of a thing for sure. And then, in year three, I believe in 2019, I think year three was actually for us 2018, but it was year two of selling. We started getting people that were freeze drying the fruit and cutting it like us. And so, you're going to get your Me Too copycats. And you could look at that, with everything, there's trade-offs. You could look at that as taking money out of as if you deserve that, which you don't. There's nothing, tomorrow's not guaranteed today, ever, but you could also be positive about that and be like, hey, like what I'm doing, people think is worth copying.
Mm.
That's like, do
That's
you think Michael
peak,
Jordan got mad that people wanted to buy his clothes? Do you think Michael Jordan got mad that people wanted, like, they're playing, even though they didn't have a tenth of the, skill level that he did, when they went up and they said Jordan, do you think that he was pissed off at that? I don't think so.
right? It tells you landed on a gold mine.
And it
Did
has to be more than you, right? It has to, like, you can't do it all. You just can't. You can't. So
Do you know roughly like the how much you guys made 2017, 2018, 2019, like overall the whole,
I think it was something like I don't know, like 80, just shy of 100K or something like that,
like
because we started like
every year?
in that first year from like March to December. And then it was like 188K the next year, and then like 320K in year three. And then I think in year three the pandemic happened, and so we grew about 4.5 times during the pandemic.
Oh wow.
It's never a linear thing. Never, ever, ever, ever. It's never a hockey stick. People always think that, oh, you're like in tech, it could be. We're talking about we're raising aware, like the reason why a lot of these huge international conglomerates don't have a Miracle Berry product today is because it takes a lot of education, and they do not like to educate. That's like their kryptonite. They want to find people who want potato chips or want a soft drink, or like there's a built-in demand for that. So what they saw as a liability, I saw as an opportunity.
Mm,
Like this is something where I could feel like I'm contributing and I'm making a name for myself at the same time. And there's a financial incentive to continue to keep pushing, because the feedback that we're getting is inspiring. Like all the influencers we never paid a penny to, like every single one of those videos was unpaid, every single one. And
mm,
so
amazing.
but you can't really fake that reaction. I
Oh
mean, like
man.
over and over and over, you just can't fake it. So like
Yeah.
and then Jennifer Gardner in 2017, near the end of the year, she posted on us, and that gave permission to, at the time she had 3.5 or 4 million followers on Instagram. And all the people that saw that were like, okay, if this A-list celebrity who's got a pretty good image aligns herself with this brand, maybe I can too. And the videos would get a lot of engagement because the viewers want to see, what did it taste like? We'll try it with this and blah, blah, blah. Right. And so the video started getting like millions of views.
Wow. When did you go to Shark Tank? Was that after the pandemic?
I applied in 18 and 19, way too early. You know why? Because everyone told me I should, and I was a huge fan. Huge fan.
Mm,
Of course, I knew what the tank experience could do for us as a company, but I didn't even get acknowledged that, I'm one of 40,000 applicants.
wow.
But I spent a lot of time in 2017, 18, and 19 building my community on LinkedIn. A lot of time. And I think that for a lot of founders, especially if you're in the e-commerce D2C world, LinkedIn is a place for you to find your tribe.
Mm.
And so I began first connections with a lot of the Shark Tank people, the
Oh,
casting
okay.
people specifically. And I remember logging on one of the 20 times a day I would log on, and I saw a post from one of the Shark Tank guys like, hey, get your submissions in right now. And so I DM'd him because we're first connections. And I was like, I know you're super busy, but I just wanted to make sure that mine was received. That's it. I just wanted to make sure that it got to you. And less than 2 weeks later, we got the call saying we'd like for you guys to start developing a pitch, and we got connected with the producer teams. And everything. I mean, every time you talk to them, they always remind you that the next step isn't guaranteed. They always love to tell you, like,
Right,
doesn't mean
right.
that the next stop, this could be your final. And so what we
Even a
did,
lot of sellers don't even make it on the show. They pick and choose which ones they're gonna air.
half of the ones that go to the Sony lot to do the pitch, half of them don't get aired.
Mm. Wow,
So that's quite a lot.
that is a lot.
And so it's not like you're going to bed thinking that it's a slam dunk, but I tell you what, you get a lot better feelings if they talk about how much they love your product. And we would just flood the Shark Tank people with product, just flood them. Like when we actually got to filming the show, I
Yeah.
don't know if people have told you this or not, but there's about 250 people on set. Like their job for that 2 weeks is only Shark Tank. So like it's a humongous production that you have absolutely no idea about when you're just a viewer, like me up to that point. But we got to the set, and we were just like, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. Just like made like all of the editors got it, like all of everybody down to like the gophers, every crew, every whatever their position was, they all got the berries. And so that gave me, even during the time from September till when we finally got word that we were going to air in like April
Which year was that?
2023. So it was
Excuse me.
September 2022 up until, like, we finished our due diligence in March, like I said, and then I think that we got the word in April that we were going to air. I think they give us like 3, 4, 5 weeks, something like that. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks. We got advance notice that we would air, and even then. You get the notice and they say, hey, you might not air even if you have a date because, some emergency, like some tornado or an earthquake or whatever, so don't like bet the whole farm that you're going to air. And but the whole strategy was to get people to fall in love with the product. And I tell you what, if I had a man-made product, I wouldn't feel like I had the confidence. But this product is the living raw berry, and people connect with it because we have a millennia of wondering what delicious red berries taste like. They have to tell you as a kindergartner, first, second grader, to don't go around and eat every red berry you see on a tree because one or two might be poisonous. They have to tell you that because we're just designed fundamentally to wonder what a red berry tastes like. And
Mm,
so, and that it works, and it works on 100% of people if you do it right. I knew that it would connect with people. Like, it had life of its own on the marketing sense because this word of mouth, just, people wanted to share it because it had a life of its own, and still raw and living. It still has a life of its own. It's just, in like a preserved state. So it connects with people. And then, as soon as people like and trust you, and this is a fundamental thing with sales, right? You need
Also,
to
I
have.
think how passionate you are about it speaks of volumes, like you're such a good spokesman for the product because you're so passionate about it. And it's just like, you sold me just because of how excited and passionate and how much you believe in the product. So it's
It's just,
that that
if you
speaks
do
a lot.
sales, have you done direct sales, or have you ever done telemarketing sales, or have
I
you?
have not.
Okay, so this is now, most people haven't, but I have. And when you have a product that delights and surprises, those are corny words and not words that people normally use. But if you are a salesperson, you use those type of words just because, like, you have to believe in things that you sell. Like, you hear that over and over, like
That's
your
another
friends,
thing. Yeah. If you're a salesperson or you have experience in sales, it's one thing. But if you're a salesperson who believes in the product, then
right?
it's like a double, it's almost like a superpower that you have because like you got the skills and you believe in the product. So now it definitely shows, I can feel it in your energy, in the way you speak, in your tone. It's powerful.
And there's an element of scarcity because we can't service this for everybody. Like, if like, when an influencer talks about it, people know, like, if they don't get it now, it's going to be sold out. And
Mm,
so, you have to have urgency if you want to make a sale. It has to be, has to be a reason. It has to be now. It can't be later on. If it can be delayed, it will be delayed, right?
yeah.
And then you have to build the value. So, like, you have to have a reason or multiple reasons why you should want it as well. It has to save time, money, or peace of mind. It has to do
Mm,
multiple of those things. And then you can't give away a lottery ticket, a winning lottery ticket, if people don't like and trust you. You
mm,
can't give it away. And so you have to get that over the hump. And so I know that if people like and trust the brand because we're a berry, then we can sell them other things that are man-made that use the berry. You
mm,
see, because they associate the brand with something that they've already experienced and they like and they trust. If we were to come out immediately with something that wasn't the fruit, then it's suspect. It's sus, and that's
right,
what
right.
the tablets. I will never talk negatively about the people who came before us. They paved the way. They're the giants, and we stand on their shoulders. And the main one is Mberry. They bring their tablets over from Taiwan, and they private label. So, but they were geniuses at educating people through influencer marketing and putting it on the internet. And
Mm,
so the thing with the tablet, though, that I didn't want as just a user was a few things. Number one, like I just said, there's more than just the berry in the tablet. Like, I can't tell you, when I go to a bar or a restaurant or something and I'm giving a stranger a berry, they always ask me, like, is this drugs? You know? And you never want to answer a question with a statement. You always want to ask another question, right? And so it's like I always play with them, and I say, "Are you looking for drugs?" And we have this like little fun back and forth because half the time they'll say, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Well, this isn't that. This is for kids. This is for the policemen. This is for the fire. This is for families." But it is a little bit of a trip, but people connect, like I said earlier, because it's a red berry, and so like it doesn't get more natural than a berry. But then number two, people care about time, and the tablets took 5 to 10 minutes for it to dissolve on your tongue, and sometimes I think the 30 seconds that the berry
Mm,
takes is too long because sometimes I want to experience my food or drink now, right? And so that's still 30 seconds to 5 or 10 minutes. That's a big difference in time, and people care about that time. And then people care about money, and the tablets are $1.67 each. And so because our mission, we've been laser focused on bringing the price down. Now our serving is like 42 cents or 43 cents per serving. And so you could get 3.5 times servings for one tablet. So that's a savings of money.
mm,
Um, and then, obviously I save the best for last because any food or beverage product, they always say the taste is king.
mm.
And I've never met yet somebody who prefers the taste of a man, like a tablet. It's going to be chalky. It has to be. It's just not going to be juicy and scrumptiously delicious of a red berry, right? And so I knew that because we had these things in our corner, we had a shot to not get crushed by the guys who had been there for 10 years before us, and they were making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. And so I knew that there was a lane for us to drive into that could be just our lane.
Beautiful. And I know we ran out of time, and just so I don't take too much of your time, I would like to end the podcast or the interview on this. What are three mistakes that may have cost you money
Oh, I can tell
that,
you right now. I can
you
tell
can
you the
share
first
with us?
one, the first one was waiting 3 years. That was, like 3 years is a long time when you have a hero product.
Mm,
Go ahead and get in. I mean, 3 years is a long time. So I had the
how much
same
do you
problem.
think? How much money do you think you missed out on by waiting 3 years?
Well, it's not just the first 3 years, it's the compounding effect. So,
Right.
like, if we had 3 more years on top of this, we'd be in year 11. And so I think, we just crossed over our second million because of Shark Tank and, all the power that has happened with that. But I think that, you can't fall into the trap of saying what woulda, shoulda, coulda. You can't.
Right. Right.
But my point is that don't let imposter syndrome stop you. Like a big thing for me was that wondering. At the time, I'm a retail sales manager. I'm making 2 grand, maybe 2.5 grand on a good month, you know? And
Wow.
so, what I try and teach people is don't look at where you're at today as a limiting belief. The cool thing about me being a retail sales manager is that it was easy when I found my calling, when I decided that this was for me, it was easy for me to walk away. Had I been making 100K, 200K, whatever Wall Street pays, because I'm a finance major, then it'd be a lot more challenging because I'd want to have that to start out with. So look for things to be like blessings in disguise.
Mm,
Like on one hand, yeah, I should have started before 3 years, but on the other hand, I was ready. When it came time for me to walk away, 3 years was plenty of time for me to be like, thank you guys at Sprint.
right. Right.
It's so
No.
easy for in fact, I gave them my 2 weeks and I was talking to so many customers about the berry. Like seriously, we talk about 20 minutes, the phone and the plan, and then for an hour and a half, we're talking about the berry. Seriously, I'm not kidding. They're just blown away. I'm telling them all my plans. And so the heads of the company, they're like, listen, man, you're so passionate about this. You don't have to work that last week. Just go, go run with it. Right. And so
I love it.
that's how it was. So that's the first thing. Like, also locus of control is a thing.
Lotus of control.
Locus of control, LOCUS, locus of control. You could decide whether you see things happening to you or if you can impact the things that happen to you. And those are the two, it's never one or the other, it's somewhere in between. But the what the berry allowed me to do, what I understood the berry to be was I always thought that I'd have to control my cravings. Like I would fail because 100% of the time I couldn't control my cravings. It's like
Mhm.
if you're an emotional eater and you've got a cookie on the counter, 20% of the time you're going to have that cookie, and that can keep you from achieving the goals because it's conflicting things that you're doing. You have a goal here, but 20% of the time you're gonna have this other thing. And so I always felt like being a yo-yoer in my weight and this emotional eater, that life was happening to me that I couldn't control. But the berry allowed me to have a tool that instead of trying to control my cravings, I could do something I didn't think was possible, and I could control my taste.
Mm.
Okay. And when you can control your taste, you can still go ham on cravings. You could make salads be like super big bowls, and you could just eat as much as you want, and you're getting healthier.
Wow.
You could have the lemonade that tastes like hot dog on a stick or Chick-fil-A. And you've probably seen those TikToks where they just pour the sugar and the thing, and then they take a big spoon and they stir it. Like that's what this tastes like, but no sugar. And
Wow.
so it's like the
Wow.
easiest, coolest thing to host when you have friends over. You give them lemon water and a berry, and you watch their minds explode. So
Amazing.
locus of control allows you to feel like you're more in control of your life than just letting life happen to you. And then, of course, like, and part of that is like not believing less of yourself because of willpower. When you have a tool that allows you to succeed, it's because it has staying power. Like you could stick with it. And so yeah, you want to take the pressure off of yourself as much as possible, because torturing yourself is not fun mentally or physically. Like you don't want to tell yourself negative thoughts. You also don't want to have to like eat food that tastes like dirt. You know what I mean? Because it's not long term. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, whenever I was thinking, I was always thinking long term, not short term.
So
And so
it
that
should be
was
a
it.
lifestyle. It should be a lifestyle.
That's right.
It shouldn't be something that you just do to lose 20 pounds and then you're back on to your last or your previous, eating habits, because that's not going to work. It has to become a lifestyle that you adapt to. And it sounds like this product helps with that, which is great. Like, I feel like I'm going to start recommending it to friends and family, because I'm like, oh, you guys, did you hear? I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to try it myself,
Talking
because
about it does it no
I'm like so
justice. I'm
tempted to
telling you.
try it.
You're even right now, I could tell because you have a pulse, you still doubt it a little bit. I know if you are breathing, you still doubt it up until the second that it hits your tongue. And so it's like 30 seconds, you're still not believing that it's going to happen. Like you swallow and you don't taste anything. So you're still like, this is BS, and Hank is full of BS, and the sharks are full of BS, and all the influencers are BS. And then you have your whatever, and you're like, oh, holy cow, I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. And so that's the experience that you want to share with other people.
That's
And
wild.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, but just going back to the three mistakes that might have cost you money. You said waiting 3 years to launch the product. That's definitely a big one. What do you think is the second one that might have like a costly mistake in launching, in the whole journey of launching a brand, and doing this whole thing? Because I'm sure there was like stuff that you weren't aware of. What is something like a new sell, because this is part of like who our audiences are, beginner sellers who are just beginning their journey, so we like to share lessons with them from
Truly,
people who've been there.
truly. My second, the glaringly obvious one was our second product, and we
Mm,
came out with it too soon, before people knew about Nature's Wild Berry because of the pandemic or Shark Tank. We came out with the melt. The melt was something that I wanted to give kids because you have to follow the instructions with the berry pretty precisely. Like if you don't take two your first time, you're not going to know how to let it coat your tongue. If you rush it
Mm,
more than 30 seconds, it's not going to. But we had this product that was the concentrated berry, 100% berry, nothing else, but we put it in the shape of a bear in a silicone tray into our freeze dryers. And we thought that we were really clever with the name and the design. Like I was so proud of, I called it Barely Bears because it barely looked like a bear, and it had a nice ring to it. But people associate bears with gummy bears. They just do. You can't separate the two. And this wasn't gummy.
mm,
And so plus we didn't put the marketing dollars or awareness in terms of media, social media influencers behind it. Like once in a while, maybe 5% or less of the time, people would do a video on the bears, but it's not getting the millions of views like the berries do.
mm,
And just back to my earlier point, like people connect with the red berry. They're not looking for a miracle bear that is a melt on your tongue.
mm.
They're just not looking for that. And especially if they haven't tried your product. And so people fell in love with the berries, but not the bears. And we spent a lot of money on a failed product. And when we got into the tank, I was, you could see that we brought the bears into the tank. If you take a close look, luckily the world-class editors didn't focus too much on the bears. And they also cut out the part where Mark was like, this is a horrible name. This is a horrible idea. Mark just like boom on the bears, what I mean? And so we
Wow.
just cut the bears, and we're gonna bring it back, but not as a bear, and we're gonna give it more time, because the melt is something special. But it's just
I
not
see.
something that a new company wants to come to market with. It's after,
Mm,
it's a few years after you're more established. And by the way, we're still getting established. I think of today as day one. I
wow.
mean, I can't tell you how much I have to do to improve our D2C like I told you in the beginning what we're doing tonight, tomorrow, but that's still like, we have so much to do compared to amazing e-commerce sellers that are in my mastermind calls, that are in the groups that I get to sit down with and share things with, and learn from. So I'm still learning, and the growth teams have got so much to teach me. But
That's
yeah,
beautiful.
that was the second big one. And then
What
gosh,
could you give me a number on how much, you guys have like spent on the Burly Bears product? How much did it cost you? That
probably closer to 40 to 50K easy.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a very good lesson because I do feel like we get a lot of questions on, oh, when should we launch a second product? And I think it differs because I've talked to other sellers who've seen success by launching multiple products. But I think with your product, because you have to raise the awareness first on what the product is, and it's the berry that's significant, and it's really what people are resonating with, the whole experience and the value it adds to their life and all of that. So the barely bear kind of took away from that whole experience. But that's a good
You get it.
lesson for someone who's got a product out there who can relate to that experience. If their product is some kind of adds value in some way and it needs to add awareness. I mean, that's a good lesson for them to be aware of, not to hurry and produce a second product.
Yeah, like if you're not absolutely crushing it with your first product, then your second product is going to detract from your first product. And there's no
Mm,
way your second product can compete unless, I mean, unless it's easily 10 times better. And then you're going to stop your first product and you're going to pivot. It's like pivoting is um, you know, the caveat, but it's most likely you're not going to spend years on product one just to give it up unless like chat gpt or something, whatever. But no, that was a big one. And then I think that if I were to guesstimate, we probably could have understood how ads work sooner. you
mm,
know um the third one, I think it was a matter of pride. I wanted to be pride, and pride always comes before the fall. Always, always. Every time you feel yourself getting prideful, you should cut that out immediately. And the longer you stay prideful, the the bigger the horse is, the harder the fall, right? And so, right? Am I right? I'm right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So I was pretty prideful on that. We didn't ever do meta ads. We never did Instagram ads. We never did TikTok ads. I was glad that I kept it pure. And I think that there are ads that have much better ROI than just organic. And so like we're finding that right now with the growth teams.
Mm,
And so yeah, getting the word out can be done in a really wasteful way. There's no shortage of people that say that, you know, that it's getting more expensive and less guaranteed. Obviously, that there is a trend there, but it's a mistake to think that all ads are one size fits all. Like,
mm,
there's definitely opportunities out there that have a significant higher return than just, kind of waiting for organic to pop up. So I would say those are the top three things, like waiting to go into business, probably doing a second product too soon, and then kind of not exploring opportunities to get a wider audience.
mm. Do you know how much significance this is doing right now? You know, that exploring more audience and
Well, we
increasing
just
your advertising.
Yeah, like, for example, we didn't want to be a company that did email marketing because I was
Mm.
prideful. I was like, I don't want email marketing. When I think about it, if an email is valuable, then I do want the email, you know? And so we got customers and we never sent them emails,
Oh
you
man.
know? And when Mark and Lori came on board, they were like, okay, well, we'll save you. We'll put you on our email list. And that was one of the first things that drove a
That's
lot of traffic to
awesome.
our
Yeah.
site, right?
Oh,
But
100%.
now that there are some changes in the email landscape, I'm so happy. Like we got great tools for our SMS, and we just launched subscriptions on our website. We have subscriptions through our SMS platform. We're getting right back into a lot of the things that we paused because organic was the Shark Tank effect is real, and so we haven't been updating our socials as much as we did during the pandemic prior to Shark Tank. It was like multiple times every day we were posting, but now it's like, okay, let's put some effort into doing these awesome collabs. Let's get the team like recruiting, another one I would say as a fourth, like just to end it, is to don't be afraid to recruit the best talent.
Mm,
The best talent doesn't have to cost you a lot. There are ways, if you want to privately message me, I can show you the ways that I'm using to build a team. But you just physically cannot do it all on your own. Even with a co-founder, you have to bring in people. If you want to grow, if you want to get above a couple million, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, you're going to have to get
team.
thousands of people to help you buy into your vision and to do it for themselves too. And so luckily it hasn't ever just been me, Giuliano. I can't sing his praises enough. Like, we wouldn't have gotten on Shark Tank if it wasn't for him. We wouldn't have had a product if it wasn't for him. He's the operations guy that made sure that when somebody like Jaden Smith or whoever posted a video on us or whatever, like, we didn't run out of inventory, like that,
Mm.
couldn't. So I would suggest highly, don't try and do it on your own. Get a great co-founder you can trust with your bank account, and grow with, like, long term. But also, like, get those influencers seated, but also get people who specialize in things that you don't have to spend time on doing.
Yeah, I totally agree and believe in that full-heartedly. I mean, no one can grow on their own. You need people, you need a team, you need systems. 100%. Um, and you cannot do everything yourself in the end of the day.
It makes you laugh when you think about it. It just makes you laugh.
I mean, And just for numbers sake, because it's one of the things that we like to put in our videos is the numbers. Like just roughly, how much do you think the email marketing like increased, brought more revenue? Like roughly, did it bring in like 25% more sales or 50% more sales? Just estimate
As a percentage.
as a percentage, or if you want to give me a number, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, tens of thousands.
Okay,
Yeah, tens of thousands. So, 10%,
let's say $30,000. Yeah, no, I
15%, something like that. It's been great. It's been wonderful. I
yeah, it's
mean,
one
don't
thing
get me
we
wrong, like there are also discounts involved that, kind of creep your margins out. So it's not one to one. Obviously, you have to factor that in. But yeah, it was very helpful. It definitely like have a product that people want to buy, they want to try, and they want to share. Do that.
yes.
Double down on that. Yeah.
100%. Hey, Hank, thank you so much for joining me today. And this was amazing. Congratulations on all the
I
success.
would have done my hair if I thought I was gonna, but yeah, we'll get on the main channel. I'll
You're
look a
good,
little
man.
bit more
You get a
professional.
chance. Yeah, you get a chance before you get on the main channel. So,
Yeah,
but this was great, man. No, don't worry about it. This is usually casual, so it's all good.
awesome,
Uh,
awesome, man. Well, I really love talking with you. I could keep going, but
Same.
if you,
I can talk to you for hours about this. But congratulations on all the success. It's really inspiring and amazing. What a cool story that you have.
oh man, well, thank you for that as a kind gesture, kind words, and for I can't waste my time. But if you are an entrepreneur that has questions on seeding, if you have questions on maybe Shark Tank or Amazon or any D2C e-commerce CPG type of a product, I charge free 99. Like people do have ways other than making money for feeling like they get payoffs in life. And my biggest payoff, I would say, even more than making money, is to see other people succeed, go from here to here to here to, and creep up and change their lives, their families' lives. And
Yeah,
I could probably name off a handful of people that over the last 8 years I've gotten a chance to see them do that, and that's like super thrilling to me. So yeah,
love that.
don't don't feel like I'm asking you to waste my time. I definitely can't do that. But if you've got any specific questions or even general questions, and you're already doing something, then hit me up on LinkedIn or DM. I've got my LinkedIn, my link tree also open. I think that was the one thing that I would say is the best way to reach us and or me. And yeah, I'd love to help you.